Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This week, we are going to start working with Google Docs. We're going to learn about a lot of different formatting techniques where you can change the look of your text. You can insert pictures. We're going to learn how to resize correctly so we don't stretch or skew any of the images. And you're also going to get a little bit of a look at Google Drawings, which allows us to do some layering of pictures and text and things like that. These are all really important skills, especially as we have moved more and more towards working on the computer. Many of your final writing projects and just projects in general will be completed on the computer. So this is going to teach you all the different ways to make your work look great. So we're going to start today by going into Google Classroom, and you're in the classwork, so we can look at the assignment for Monday. The first thing it says to do is to go to the classwork section of My Google Classroom and open the Pocketful of Poems template at the bottom of the list. So if you haven't done that already, you should pause the video here, go back to classwork, scroll all the way down. Here's the template and open your template. You want to do that first before listening to the rest of this video. So if I go in here and I open the template, it's going to look like this. Everybody starts the same with just a very basic looking template. So you can see as I scroll through, it's all very bland. There's no colors, there's no images, there's no formatting that makes it look nice. So we're going to go through, and every day we're going to work on a different page, and we're going to kind of make this a little bit more visually appealing, make it look better to our eyes. So we're going to leave this tab open. We're going to come back to Google Classroom, and you're going to come back to today's assignment to continue listening to the video. So at this point, you should be listening to the Ed Puzzle video. Number 2, I do have come back here and watch the Ed Puzzle assignment. Make sure you pause the video and complete the steps as I instruct you to do. Please do not try to watch the whole thing all the way through and then go and do it. You're going to forget a lot of the steps. So when I tell you pause and go and do that, I'd like you to actually pause the video, go and do it on your template, and then come back to the video again. And this is just going to make it a lot easier as we instruct, because some of these lessons are a little bit longer and it's a lot to remember in one chunk. So that's why I'm telling you, pause now and go and do it. Okay, so please try to follow that. All right, so today we're just going to be working on this title page here. So one of the first things I want you to notice is that we have the title of the whole project with his pocket full of poems. Underneath that is what we call a subtitle. So for this one, it's called A Collection of Poems. And then each of these pages here are different pages of poems that we're going to be working on. Then we have a place to write our name, and we have today's date. Well, this is an old date, but we're going to change this to today's date. And then we have a lot of this white space. So we're going to do a bunch of stuff. We're going to add our names, change the date. We're going to format all the font, and we're going to add some cool colors and techniques and things to make it look good and fill this space. So the first thing I want you to do is highlight all of these red words here. So we're going to click and drag. We can click and drag to highlight all the way across, and make sure you cover all the way to the period. And you want to make sure that when you're clicking and dragging to highlight, you're starting either all the way to the right over or all the way to the left over. You can't start in the middle because it'll only do half. Okay, so you got to start from the beginning to the end. So I'm going to start here and highlight over. And you can backspace, but you don't need to, because the highlighting is like you talking to the computer and you're saying, hey, computer, I want you to look at these words, and anything I do, I want you to erase these words and I want you to put the new ones in. So just by highlighting it, as soon as I start to type, I'm telling the computer to get rid of these words and replace them. So you're going to write your first and last name. And remember, you need to capitalize, right? So you're using the shift key to make your letters capital, the first letter of your first name and the first letter of your last name. Okay, so right now I want you to pause this video, go and replace where your name belongs, and then come back. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is change our date. So it is Monday. We're going to leave the Monday here, but today is September 21st. So we're going to write out the word September, again, capitalizing it because it's a proper noun. We're going to say 21, and then we're going to say 2020. So make sure you write it just like that so you have the word spelled correctly with a capital S. We do a space, 21, comma, and then a space. The commas always touch the word or the number before. So 21, comma, space, 2020. Okay, pause the video here and go correct your date. Okay, next thing we're going to do, we're going to start working on formatting our font. So what I want you to do is I want you to work on just this first section here. We're going to kind of work on this in chunks. So I'm going to work on Pocketful of Poems. This is the title of the entire project. Since it's the name of the whole project, I think it's the most important thing. I want this to be the biggest thing on our page. So the first thing we're going to do is highlight it, and I'm going to show you a new way of highlighting. So we clicked and dragged to highlight before. There's a faster way. So if you want to click, if you want to highlight one word, if you put your mouse over top of that word and then double click, that's a click, click, it'll highlight just that word. If you want to highlight an entire group of words, it's usually a whole line, a whole sentence, something like that, you're going to triple click. So that's 3 clicks. You can do 1, 2, 3, and that'll highlight the whole word. So you can try that when you go to highlight. So you can try the triple click or just click and drag. Either way, highlight the whole thing. We're going to change 3 different aspects of this. We're going to change the font, which is here. We're going to change the size, and we're going to change the color. My recommendation is always pick the font before the size, because the size of your font's going to change depending on which font you choose. So you have to, it makes more sense to pick this first. So what you're going to do is drop down this menu, and you can see there's a bunch of fonts listed here. Now, believe it or not, these are not all of the font options. These are only ones that I've picked out that I like. If you don't see anything you like here, you can go ahead up to where it says More Fonts, and it will open this box, and it shows you all these different fonts that you may not have. You can see the ones that I have checks next to them, and the ones that I don't. So like, for instance, I really like this Roboto one, so I'm going to click it to add it to my list. And let's see if there's anything else. Oswald, I like. We're going to add that. Oh, I always like Merriweather. I don't know why they got rid of that for me. And you can go through, and there's lots and lots of different ones. You can see if there's something you like that you want to add. Maybe I want to add this one. And you can see now they're showing up in this size. So when I hit OK, now I have the options to choose. Let's see. Oswald was one that I added. So let's say I like that one. So what I would like you to do right now is pause this video, highlight Pocketful of Poems, and pick a font that you like. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, good. Now that you have the font created, now we're going to change the size. So the size is here. And what we want to do is we want to make this as big as it can go while still staying on one line. So I'm going to jump to, let's say, 48. Pretty big. I think I can go bigger. Let's jump to 60. Oh, that's pretty good. Let's go one more. Let's go to 72. Okay, see now how poems went on a second line? That's too big. Now, here's the thing you may not know. In between 60 and 72, they don't have an option for me, but guess what? You can type numbers up here. So even though 60, I know 60 was pretty big and fit pretty good, I'm going to try 65. Once you type a number in, you have to hit enter to lock it in. Look, 65 worked. Let's see if I can go even bigger. Let's try 67. I'm going to type 67 in, enter. That worked. All right, let's try 68. Enter. Oh, 68's too big. So 67 is as big as I can go while staying on one line. So why don't you try and go do that now? Your number might be different than mine because it's going to depend on what font you chose. So pause the video now and try to make it as big as you can make it with it staying on one line. Go ahead and pause. Okay, good. Now that you have it large, we're going to now add a color. So here is our text color. It's always the one that has an A with the line underneath of it with different colors. And we talked about this in pixel art where you have the colors that they listed here, but then you can also make custom colors. But I'm going to pick with a color that I like that's already here. So maybe this one looks pretty good. If you would like, you can also use bold, italics, or underline. So bold makes it really dark. That put me on a second line, so now I'd have to adjust my size, which I'm not going to do, so I'm just going to take that off. Italics puts a little slant on it, and then underline adds an underline to it. So for me, I like the slant. So I'm going to leave the italics on. And now I'm going to move down and I'm going to look at a collection of poems. So we're going to do the same thing, but a collection of poems is actually a subtitle. So we don't want this one to be quite as big as Pocketful of Poems. We want it to be pretty big, but not quite as big. So we're going to do the same thing where we highlight, triple click to highlight. We're going to pick a font and a size and a color. So I'm going to pick a different font because I want this to kind of stand out a little bit too. So maybe I'm going to pick this kind of cursive and I'm going to make it pretty big. That's a nice size. See how it's slightly smaller than this, but it still is pretty large. And then I'm going to pick a color that I like, and I'm going to pick something that complements that red, maybe that kind of bluish color. Okay, so I want you to go do a collection of poems now. So highlight it, pick a font, make it big, but not as big as Pocketful of Poems, and then change the color. Then you can come back here. Go ahead and try that now. Okay, good. Now, the next thing we need to do is work on all of these words here. So these are all the different pages, and I actually got rid of a couple of them, so we're going to delete some first. So first, we're going to delete poems that rhyme, because I actually got rid of that page this year, so we can delete that and erase that space. You just highlight it and hit backspace, and then we're going, and actually everything else we have. Okay, so now, since all of these are the same, they're all both the different names of pages, we're going to make these all similar. So I'm going to highlight them all together, and I just clicked and dragged to do that. Click from the top and drag all the way down to the bottom. And now I'm going to pick a font that I like, and I think I want something for me, and again, this, your choice is whatever you want it to be, but I think I would like something that's kind of thicker and chunkier. So it's really actually nothing I see here. So I'm going to look at more fonts, and I'm going to find something that's kind of darker, like this. This is cool. So I want to try that font. There it is. And now I'm going to make this big, but again, not as big as a collection of poems. So let's go ahead and pick, oops, sorry, not font size, maybe a 24. That's pretty good. What's the next size? 30? Yeah, I think I like 30. And then again, I'm going to pick a color that I like. Now, if you want to do this slightly differently, like let's say you want to make each of these a different font, that's fine. Just try to get them about the same size. If you want to do each of these a different color, that's fine. Because this is really about creativity. As long as you're changing the font and the color and the size, that's all I'm really looking for. Okay, so you can pause now and go ahead and fix all of your titles here. Don't forget to delete the first one because we don't need that. And then come back. All right, good. 2 more steps to do today, and then we are done for today. So the first thing is my name and date. So I think what I like best is I want these to actually be together. I don't like this gap in between. So I'm going to show you how to get rid of an extra space. The first thing I'm going to do is click right in between the two names, the name and the date, and I want my cursor right in the middle. Once it's there, I'm going to use the backspace key, and I'm going to backspace once, and then I'm going to backspace a second time, and that just gets rid of that space. So now they're together, which I like, because I feel like these kind of belong together. They should be the same font, and I think they should be the same size. So I'm going to do the same thing where I highlight. I'm going to pick a font, a size, and a color that I like. I'm going to stick with some sort of cursive. That's not cursive, is it? I don't think I like that. I'm going to go back to the cursive that I had. I like that. All right, I'm going to make it not humongous, but like a decent size. And then I'm going to pick a color that I like. And I think that I want to go back to this to kind of bookend it since it's the same color as the top color. Okay, so right now I'd like you to pause, delete that space, and then format this. So whenever I say format the font, this is what I mean. Change the font, the size, and the color. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, good. Last thing we're going to do is we are going to change the zoom on this. So if you take a look here where it says 100%, this is how close we're looking at the screen. What I want is for you to be able to see the entire page at the same time. So if we come down to 50% and click on 50%, now you can see that I'm looking at pretty much the whole sheet at once. And so you can notice how there's a white space up here, but see how this is a bigger white space down here? That doesn't look quite as good. So what I want to do is I want to add some space in. So I'm clicking my cursor in between tongue twisters and my name. So my cursor's blinking in the middle, and I'm going to hit enter. Enter, and then maybe enter one more time. And now I I think I want to add one more. There we go. So now I've used almost the whole page. I have my title, my subtitle, all the pages that are in the book itself, and then the name and the dates down at the bottom. So I'm using my space. You never want to have all of your text smushed up at the top of the screen, or at the top of the page if it's something that's supposed to be visual and filling the whole page like a title page. So this just looks a little bit nicer. It gives a little bit more space. I can tell that this is the important title of the project. I can tell that this is a subtitle because it's slightly smaller. So it's just a way of presenting things nicely. All right, so that's all we're doing today. We're going to move on and actually work with this page where we write some poetry tomorrow, and we're going to learn how to insert images. So for now, you can go ahead and close everything out. Remember, Google Docs does save for you. Do not turn in Pocketful of Poems template because you're going to continue working on it throughout the week. But you can turn in the Monday video so that I know that you watched the video, and then go ahead to Typing Tutor and pick up where you left off. If you have any questions, send me a comment or an email, and I will get back to you as quickly as I can. Good luck with everything.